Hey everybody, it's Mike here from The Art of Guitar. Sorry, it's been a while since my last video. It's been about a week. I've kind of been chilling out a little bit, taking a little bit of a vacation. But last week, I actually played at a benefit concert. And I thought since there were so many musicians and so many things happened, I thought it'd be really fun to do a gig recap and kind of share the night with you guys. So a couple weeks back, I got a message from a guy named John asking me if I'd be interested in playing this benefit. And I looked at the list of songs that they were going to have us play, and I got real excited because most of you know that I'm in a Heart tribute band. I have been for about 8 years now. And so obviously all I get to play is Heart. But when I looked at the list, I got excited because I saw songs from Metallica, a song from Joan Jett. I even saw a song from Wayne's World. I thought that was kind of cool.
Living with the things you do to me.
There was also an opening for someone to play drums on Enter Sandman, as well as bass on Born to Run. And I signed up for both, but somebody took my spot for Enter Sandman, so I thought my drum chops will just have to wait till the next one. John asked if they could use my half stack for the backline for the stage, and I was like, sure. It's a Marshall 4x12 with a Bassman 100 head, all-tube head. And then I used my pedal boards because that amp takes pedals really well. So because they were going to use my rig, we had to show up a little bit early for sound check. So he said to be there by 5 o'clock. We have to drive through rush hour all the way there. So by the time I get to the gig, I'm already totally stressed out. We told me that doors were at 6 o'clock and we didn't get there till 5:45. We get there, we're rolling my rig across the floor. I'm kind of apologizing, like, sorry we're late. You know, we get on stage. And it's really funny because as I'm bringing my amp on the stage, I look at all the other amps and everybody else has modeler amps. And I felt like a grandpa, you know, like who's this old guy bringing this old half stack with a tube head and his pedal board? You know, it just felt ancient. So I'm hooking everything up. I'm literally sweating onto my pedal board as I open it up. I'm just like, oh man, I gotta chill out. You know, I gotta play pretty soon. And I was relieved though when I hit the first chord because that's always a beautiful moment as a guitar player when your stuff actually works. So I hit the volume pedal and it swelled in and I could hear sound and I was so relieved. So usually for each pedal, I do a little bit of a riff to test the settings. I turned on my chorus pedal and I did this. That's all I did. And all of a sudden I noticed the singer who was sound checking before turn his head towards me. And I looked and he was smiling and he's like, yes. And so I was like, okay, cool. And then the drummer did the same thing. He's like, oh, I love Dream Theater. I felt like I was with my family or something all of a sudden. And they started kicking into the tune, which is hilarious because I know the intro and I know a few parts of the song, but I had forgotten all the rest of it. So they kicked into the verse and I had to completely fake my way through it. We did all lock together on this part. So we're all kind of in a good mood, you know, and we're like, we should start a Dream Theater tribute someday. I'm just like, yeah, just give me 50 years to be ready for it. I turn around to turn my stuff off until showtime, and as I turned back around, the singer had come to my side of the stage, and suddenly I felt the top of this headstock, this very headstock, hit something, and it was him. But it didn't hit him in the shoulder or the arm. It hit him right where his hair and his neck met. And he had long curly hair. And suddenly this top of the guitar was completely stuck inside of his hair. And I went to pull it off like that, and it only made it worse. It made everything tight. So I was trying to make a good first impression, and here I am with my guitar stuck in this guy's hair. So I start untangling it. I thought, I'm just making it worse. You know, it took about 30 seconds, but it felt like longer to get it out, and there was still some strands of hair coming off of it. And the poor guy didn't know what to do. It was just an awkward situation. He's just like, that just happened, as I was trying to take his hair out. So far, my night was like a roller coaster, you know, so I was really stressed out, and all of a sudden we had some good moments, and then I get my guitar stuck in the guy's hair, and I just thought, I just have to chill out. I went back to my truck and I just sat in there for 10 minutes and cranked the air conditioning because I was sweating, it was hot. I came back into the venue and just sat down with my friend Al, had a drink, which helped a lot too. And we just watched the first couple acts. They started the show with acoustic solo artists. And I was really amazed. I saw this guy before, but the acoustic artists of today is so high level. I mean, this guy had a looper thing happening. He was playing drums on his acoustic, and then he'd play over the top of it. And he would even play saxophone. He had a saxophone. He would play over the top of the loops that he made. So that was pretty entertaining. Very cool to see that. But as he was playing, I was looking around, and I noticed the host of the entire event, and his name is Dave Dahl. And he's actually actually a meteorologist that I grew up seeing on TV my entire life. He was wearing like this really shiny, glittery silver, like Michael Jackson kind of jacket or something. And we were just starstruck. So I went up to him, shook his hand. I didn't want to bother him, but he was just kind of standing there by himself, which was strange. I thought he would have like a whole posse or something. And he was really cool, like I thought he would be. And I told him that I was starstruck, and he just laughed about that. After the two solo artists got done, Dave went on stage and he kind of announced the whole show, starting with the bands and everything. And the first band played the actual theme of the night, which is Show Me How to Live. So it was called the Show Me How to Live benefit. They had just played together for the very first time. As far as I know, none of them really knew each other or ever jammed together. Maybe they did, but the whole band sounded like they've been together for a long time. When the first band got done, the whole crowd was getting energized. It felt like they were building momentum, but all of a sudden they just all had to say goodbye and walk off the stage. Some of them were coming back later for other songs, but it was so weird to see such a strong first band and all of a sudden it was done. On one hand, it was awkward, but on the other hand, it really made people excited about the next band to get up and start playing and carry that momentum on. Al and I got real excited because we knew that the next artist was going to be the singer of Flip, which was a huge band here from Minnesota. And way back when Al and I were in that teenage metal band, we actually shared a rehearsal space with them. We never really talked to them back then. We just talked to one of the members briefly named Kilo, and that was it. So I thought, this is cool. We actually get to see some Flip songs being played. Even though just the singer from the band was there, everybody else were fill-in musicians. The singer, Bryn, comes up, and I was standing next to my amp, and he plugs right into it, and he's just like, "Is this your amp? Sweet." He seemed excited that it was an actual amp and not a modeler. He's from the old school like me, so it probably seemed like home to plug into a half stack. Anyhow, he cranked his guitar and it sounded awesome. He didn't even use a pedal or anything. He just went right in, turned it up, and bam, he was good to go. And by the way, he has a very legendary looking guitar, so it was really cool to be standing that close to it. And him too. They busted into the song, "I Wish I Was a Planet." When they got done with "I Wish I Was a Planet," they didn't stop like I thought they were going to. Originally on the old set list, they had the two songs separated throughout the night, but Bryn was like, "Hey man, you're gonna have a hard time getting me off the stage." He was having a blast, and you could tell. The whole band was playing like they were in their early 20s. They just had this awesome energy. It's like the music just fueled them. And so when they kicked into Freak, another favorite song of mine by them, it was really cool to see them carry the momentum on instead of just stopping. That would have been a little bit bizarre. I didn't want Flip's set to end, but I knew they had to, otherwise it would interrupt the whole night. John's meticulous organizing would be in vain. So they got done, and I still say that was one of the coolest things I saw all night. After they got done, I ran on stage, I unplugged Bryn's guitar, and I thought, that's really cool that he actually used my amp. I was kind of starstruck again. And the next band was about to come up, and they're going to play Barracuda by Heart. And as somebody who's in a Heart tribute band, it was really strange to be off the stage, off to the side, watching other people play Barracuda. It's like my fingers just wanted to kind of follow along. So I grabbed my guitar actually, and I just warmed up by playing along with it. It was a good warm-up exercise. It was finally my time to hit the stage, and so I kind of felt the nerves a little bit. I went on stage, and I actually had my other guitar, so I'm going to switch really quick. I'm using this guitar because it's tuned to E-flat standard, and when I texted the guy that was going to sing the song, he's like, "Yeah, I do it in E-flat, and I don't do the intro, but I need you to do like the lead guitar parts, except I do the lead part at the end." So it's kind of confusing. So what I did was I just tried to do the parts Kirk Hammett from Metallica does live, and I thought I'd be okay with that. Another reason I chose this guitar is because it actually has a Sustainiac pickup. So I thought instead of bringing up Ebo and using that, because that's what, is in the song, I would just go like this and flip on the old Sustainiac. And like I talked about in a recent video, when you play in somebody else's project, you always have to be flexible and be ready for the unexpected. And he came up to me, the singer, who, by the way, I thought was James Hetfield. I did a triple take. I'm like, what's going on? He was left-handed, but everything else looked just like James Hetfield. He came up and said, "Hey man, I can't get any distortion out of this rig over here, so can you do the solo at the end?" And I just kind of had to laugh because I'm like, you know what? I practiced everything else, including the intro, just in case he wanted me to do the intro, but I did not practice James Hetfield's solo at the end. That one? Well, it went okay, but I screwed up one of the most important notes of the entire solo, this part. I went. So that was a bummer, especially because Metallica is one of my favorite bands, but, I don't think anyone cared. It honestly felt like I played for 30 seconds and the song was already done. That happens when you're thinking about a billion things and you're sort of caught up in the moment. A song could just fly by like that. Usually it's okay because you just catch your breath and wait for the next tune, but just like the other bands, I had to walk off the stage right after the one song. But I knew I was coming back shortly to play Ballroom Blitz. So we all get off the stage, and the weird part is the James Hetfield guy, his name's actually Chris, he came down to my side of the stage and we were just talking. And he's like, hey man, you know what? I'm actually a subscriber to your channel. I have been for a long time. And he said that my Blackened video that I did with the drum change in the middle of the song, he's like, that actually helped my tribute band. And I was like, what band are you in? And he said One. And I was like, oh, that's sweet, man. I've heard of you guys before. I always see them being advertised as, one of the premier Metallica tribute bands. So I was excited that he knew about my channel, and I just kept making these really cool connections with a lot of people. I think Dave Dahl is a huge fan of Metallica. He came up to both of us and he shook our hands, and he actually said, now I'm the one who's starstruck. I thought, this can't be real. Dave Dahl's saying this to me? All right, I usually can't go a gig without making a few huge blunders, and I was about to make my next one. So the next band gets on stage and they kick into this really well-known song, and there's this acoustic guitar player. And all of a sudden I heard the dreadful sound that musicians know. That's when everybody's playing everything right except somebody is in a different tuning. So I could tell that somebody was off by a half step, and I wasn't really sure who it was at first. And then I heard somebody yell out, the acoustic is an E flat. So being a teacher, I've taught a lot of group classes, a lot of rock band classes. I went into that mode. And I went and I grabbed my capo and I ran up to the acoustic person and I put a capo on the guitar and I just walked away. I was just like, that's going to help everything. Because if you're in E flat and the rest of the band is in E, you just got to capo the first fret and then usually everything's fine. So I thought that was going to help matters. Instead, the acoustic player takes the capo off and whips it away. Almost like I set a scorpion on his guitar or something. All I could think of, which seems to be the theme of the night, was, wow, that just happened. They eventually figure out what the problem was, and the problem was actually the bass player was a half step off. So I felt kind of like an ass, but I didn't know. I was just trying to help, He had his back to me most of the song, but when he finally turned towards me, my jaw dropped because I realized who it was. It was a very prominent musician from our area. One of the best singers, knows how to play guitar inside and out. So I kind of felt bad that I went up and almost acted like a teacher to him, when he obviously knows what's going on. So they went through the song. I was kind of shaken up because of the way he responded to that, but afterwards I think he felt bad. He found the capo and he tossed it back to me, and I gave him the thumbs up and everything was cool. So I just had to laugh at myself. I'm like, I did it again, But I was having fun at the side of the stage talking to Chris, the Metallica dude, and my friend Al. We were just having fun watching these great bands play. Somebody kicked into Lady by Styx. And it's funny because Al, Chris, and I are all huge Metallica fans. So when that middle breakdown happens, we all started air guitaring to Metallica's Am I Evil, or at least Metallica's version of it. And I felt, man, I'm really making cool connections with people who are into the same stuff I am. We started off with that Dream Theater jam, and now I'm standing here with these huge Metallica fans, and we're having a great time. Before I went back on stage, there was a few more bands that played some real tight tunes, all professionals. I just couldn't believe it. My friend Al was in awe as well. What I was really excited for, though, was I saw that a band was going to play Tooth and Nail by Dokken. So when that group took the stage, I was all eyes, all ears, and they nailed it. And the craziest part is the singer of this group was Chris Vokes. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Insane singer, sang for Hairball. But there's this really high note at the end that Don Dockett hits. And I was waiting for it, and he hit it so hard with so much power that my head, like my skull, felt like it was vibrating. It was a total holy shit moment where I looked around like, did you guys all hear that? But I shook it off, and I got ready for the next song because I was going up to play that Ballroom Blitz tune. I went up, I plugged in, and it was the first time I was using my Jackson, so let me switch. The other guitarist to play in the song with me is named Jeff. I always think of that clip, My Name's Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
Anyway, he and the singer are both in a band called Pop Rocks. They're this huge cover band. They do all the costumes, they do everything up like a high level. And so it was real cool to play along with them. And I could tell they played that in their band because they were so comfortable doing it. But what was really cool was being the second guitar player. I don't know if he's used to that. I don't know if they have another guitar player during the song usually. So he kicks into the first part, which is something like... So when I kicked into the other part that complements it, he was all smiles. It just felt like we locked in together and it felt great. And that song just has this bouncy energy and everybody was really feeling it on stage and I hope in the crowd as well. And the singer sounded great, which is cool because I knew she's going to be singing the Joan Jett song later on, Bad Reputation, but that was going to have to wait till the next set. Because this was a benefit, they actually did a raffle for a whole bunch of cool prizes. One of the prizes was a white Jackson guitar. And I thought, this must be a sign. I'm going to enter this contest. If I win it, I'll actually give it away in a live stream or something like that. But I just felt compelled to do it. So I buy 10 tickets, 10 chances to win. The lady gives me all the tickets and I put them in my pocket. I was all excited. When it came time to do the raffle, I pulled out all the tickets and I showed them to one of my friends that was playing guitar that night. And he's like, dude, you got to put half of those in the box. You didn't even enter the contest. So here I am standing with $100 worth of raffle tickets and I didn't even enter the contest. Luckily, the drawing for the guitar hadn't happened yet, so I was able to, rip it in half and then separate all the tickets, put them in the box, and I thought I had a really good chance of winning the guitar. But I didn't win, but it was kind of cool because they had all the musicians that played that night sign both the guitar and the bass. After I signed it, I felt a little bad because I noticed I took up a lot of space in the back of the bass, and I put my name, and then all of a sudden the art of guitar underneath it, so I took up a lot of real estate. But the guy who won the bass was smiling, he didn't care, so it's all good. Here's another funny, unexpected moment that happened. Like I said, you have to be ready for those when you're playing in other people's projects. Anyway, I got on stage to play I Remember You by Skid Row, and I had worked on the song a ton. Between that and Born to Run, I put in a ton of hours. So I felt really confident. I was ready for the solo and everything. So I'm standing up there with this guitar. I have the whammy bar on it. I'm ready to do all those crazy dives that happen in the tune. And suddenly I hear somebody hit the first chord of the song, which is supposed to be G, but I heard G flat. So we all played the first chord, and once again I got that dissonant sound where somebody's out, but this time it was me. I was in standard, everybody else was in E flat. And my heart kind of sunk because I'm like, oh no, I practiced it on this guitar, with this setup and everything. So I was ready for that. So I'm like, okay, this is not the end of the world. I'll just switch guitars because, I have locking systems, so I can't just tune down on these guitars. So I switched back to my Ibanez, and here's why that's an issue. Okay, so when we were initially setting up, Al took this guitar out and he handed me the whammy bar as well. But I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to play this for Nothing Else Matters. It doesn't need a trem bar, so just leave that in the case. Now I find myself on stage, seconds away from playing I Remember You. Actually, the guy started playing it on the acoustic guitar, so it was go time.
Wind would whisper and I think of you, and all the tears you cried, they call my name.
So real quick, I'm going to add the whammy bar like I wish I could have at the show and show you why I was so bummed out. During two parts of the solos, there's huge dive bombs that you have to do. One part is this. It's like the cat meow sound that you have to get. I was all ready to do that part. I couldn't though. Instead, I had to go like this. That's all the further I could push it down manually with my hand like this. Sounds more like a dying cat than a meowing cat. The other part I was waiting to use it for was this part. Instead, it sounded like this. It wasn't terrible, but I really wanted to get that super low dive bomb where the strings are just flopping on the fretboard, but it's all good. Note to self, no matter what, always put the damn trem bar on the guitar. The next song was going to be Bad Reputation by Joan Jett. I had to switch back to the Jackson, so let me do that really quick. Here's where some irony hit me. I'm on stage getting ready to play a Joan Jett song that's in standard tuning, so I needed this guitar, but that does not need a trem bar. by any stretch of the imagination. Yet I have one sitting right there. And the song before, I needed a trem bar, didn't have one. Anyway, I had to get over it because we had to rock this tune. So once again, I was playing along with Jeff. He and I seemed to be the dynamic duo for these songs. And as I was practicing it at home, I really felt this Ramones vibe. And I thought, wouldn't that be fun to try to challenge myself to play the whole thing with downstrokes? So if you don't know Bad Reputation, it starts like this. It's just a bunch of, B chords over and over again like that. Well, I tapped Jeff's shoulder and I'm like, hey man, would it be fun to try to do this tune with all downstrokes? And he looked at me kind of funny and he goes, no, man, I'm good, but you go crazy if you want to. So when the song started, I was doing all downstrokes at first. And then I realized, what am I doing? Sometimes I feel like I'm running a race that nobody else has entered. And it was just weird. I had like this light bulb moment in my head. I'm like, just have fun. Not everything has to be Metallica. God, that song had energy to it. The singer was rocking it. She's got the raspiness going on that you need for that. Then we got to watch some more awesome performances. Somebody played Stop Dragging My Heart Around, the Stevie Nicks Tom Petty duet. And then another band played The Pretender by Foo Fighters, which I thought was really intense to play that for the first time without any rehearsals. Because that song has a lot of moving pieces, and if you don't nail it, it just doesn't feel right. I did a whole video on how much trickier the bass line to Born to Run is than I thought. And, because I did the video and I put so much time into it, I was able to play it pretty well. All the parts came back to me. I felt like the band was locking in together. I was really impressed by everybody because it sounded like a very full band. The E Street Band is huge, and we only had like 5 people on stage, but it sounded huge. We had a sax player as well, which is great. I think we all had in the back of our minds a little bit of apprehension about the middle part. There's this chromatic walk and then a descend. And, I thought if anything's going to go wrong in this tune, it's going to be in that section. And luckily it came and went without incident. It was actually very powerful. And Tim said this afterwards. And then my favorite part of the night was when he counted us back in 1, 2, 3, 4, and we hit that E chord. There's just something so epic about that part of the song, but I got that rush. I love that rush feeling inside. By the way, I have to give props to the drummer because on the bass, I actually did the... Sounds weird on guitar, but on the bass, I did the eighth note triplet fill right there, and the drummer did it as well. He did it with both hands simultaneously. I was very impressed by that. And we glanced at each other and kind of, nodded our heads and smiled. It's sort of this musician thing where you acknowledge how awesome that part was. It's just a good feeling. And then I was supposed to be done for the night, but Chris, the James Hetfield guy, asked me if I would play Enter Sandman with them, and he wanted me to play James's parts. And I thought about back when I saw Metallica when James got injured and he had John Marshall come up from Metal Church and fill in on rhythm guitar. And I thought, I'll just do that. Sure, that's cool. I didn't rehearse it, but I played the song my entire life. We kick into it, and I really wanted to do the old strange Hetfield fingering, just to really make it authentic, but I chickened out because I'm so much more used to doing this. So it wasn't as cool as it could have been. I just freaked out at that moment. Everything else was tight though. After it kicked in, it was a little strange for me to play the rhythm parts behind the guitar solos because usually I do the leads whenever I play the song with other bands. But he did such a great job. I was just enjoying his playing and trying to, keep up behind him. The show ended with my friend Beth singing for a band playing Steelheart's I'll Never Let You Go. And if you know that song, you know that the vocals are impossibly high. And surprise, surprise, she nailed it. By the way, Beth also sings in a Queensryche tribute band. How cool is that? And they're called Queen of the Reich. So if you're ever in Minnesota or the surrounding areas and you see that name, check them out for sure. Before I end this video, I really have to mention how awesome the production team was for this benefit. When you're in the heat of the moment and you're playing and all that, it's really hard to appreciate it, while you're there. But afterwards, when I look back and I see some video footage, I realize that whoever was doing the lights, the light tech was on for everything. especially in that moment during Born to Run where that big hit came that gave me the rush. All of a sudden, he hits the lights right at the right spot. So incredible sound. Everywhere I walked around, it sounded huge. Sometimes when things are going so smooth, you don't even notice the people behind the scenes. So I wanted to mention that. And most importantly, the next day they tallied everything up and found out that they raised over $10,000 to benefit young adults with cancer. So such a memorable night and such a good cause. But I have to make sure that I thank Al for helping me keep tabs on everything. He was awesome as a roadie. And, all I had to do was buy him Perkins afterwards and we were good, I think. Maybe I'll get a bill in the mail or something. But all right, everybody, thank you so much for watching this. I think I'll do more of these whenever I have a memorable gig. I have like 3 shows coming up the next couple weeks. So maybe one of them I'll do another gig recap. So, okay, everyone, catch you later. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.